Welcome to Functional Philosophy, the show in which I, Charles II, explain and apply Ayn Rand's philosophy, Objectivism. If you'd like to ask me a question on Objectivism or its application, just go to charles2.com/contact. And my last name is spelled T as in tango, E as in echo, and W as in whiskey. Ayn Rand wrote, "To laugh at the contemptible is a virtue, to laugh at the good is a hideous vice. Men bond by teasing each other, sometimes quite brutally. I noticed Rucka even teased you slightly in your chats with him, though I did not notice you teasing Rucka. Men seem to build affection for one another through teasing, yet this sparks laughter at oneself. As the self is the ultimate good, how does laughing at oneself jibe with Rand's theory of humor? I understand some of the teasing can be about minor, trivial, personal perks. I assume he means quirks. Sometimes it can be more probing and personal, teasing a friend over something they hold dear. For instance, were you and I friends, I might joke, quote, 'Look at me, I'm Charles, I'm gonna stay in and read philosophy rather than hang with friends,' unquote. Obviously your interest and love of philosophy is a good, yet we both might laugh. Is such laughter and teasing evil? If not, is Rand wrong on humor?" It's a lot to go into here. First, I was smiling when I read that quoted hypothetical joke because it's it's just so lame. Look at me, I'm Charles, I'm gonna stay in and read philosophy. You can't just say something with a sarcastic tone. You notice people who do that, they'll just say what the other person thinks, but in a sarcastic tone, as if that constitutes a joke. You can't just say what I'm doing. That's not funny. You're not satirizing, you're not parodying, you're not teasing out some implication that reveals the absurdity of what I'm doing. You're just saying what I'm doing. No, that is not funny. So we wouldn't be friends for that reason alone, because you're so lame. But also, no, you say we might both laugh at that. I would not laugh at that, and we would not be friends. Yes, that joke would be evil. You do not tease somebody over serious values. In any case, whether you don't tease somebody over serious things they take seriously, whether those things are good or bad. If they're good, you shouldn't be teasing them about it. If it's bad, you might tease somebody over a trivial vice in conjunction with bringing it up explicitly if the person just kind of ignores you. Otherwise, you're just being passive-aggressive and cowardly. But if something is serious, I don't think you bring that up by teasing. So it wouldn't be bad to criticize somebody about something seriously bad, but you don't do that with a joke. That's just inappropriate. Oh, that reminds me. On the topic of what topics humor should revolve around. Well, as I said, yes, you should make fun of the vicious, not the virtuous. But that does not mean all vicious things are appropriate subjects for comedy. Evil that has actually manifested in the world is not an appropriate subject for comedy. So you might joke about the irrationality of Nazism, but it is wholly inappropriate to make light of the Holocaust or to make 9/11 jokes. Now, again, Rucka unfortunately engages in this kind of thing too. I totally disapprove of it. Now, you might be confused about this though, because Ayn Rand seems to contradict herself on this. On the one hand, Ayn Rand explicitly says, when she's discussing humor, that you should take evil seriously. But then, of course, we have an Atlas Shrugged, Dagny saying to Galt, we never had to take any of it seriously anyway, did we? Now, I remember somebody once asked Ayn Rand about this in one of the Q&As, and she was really hurt that the person didn't understand what she was saying, but nonetheless, I think many people get confused about this. And this is not a contradiction. What Ayn Rand is saying is that evil, insofar as it actually exists, is something to take seriously. The necessity of evil isn't. When evil actually manifests itself, when you have millions of dead Jews, you don't make light of that. You don't make light of mountains of corpses. But what Dagny was saying that you don't have to take seriously is the potency of evil. You could say the powers of self-propagation of evil. Evil only exists at the allowance of the good. I mean, this is the theme of Atlas Shrugged. It's going on strike. And so Dagny's recognizing, oh, if we withdraw, it's in our power. It's the good that allows evil to exist. So it's in that sense that you don't have to take evil seriously. You don't have to take evil as something necessary in the world. There's no necessity for evil. That is the sense in which you don't have to take it seriously. But when it does manifest, when people do allow it to be real, to exist to the extent it does, then you should take that actually existing evil seriously. As for teasing among men, I don't know. I was never that kind of guy. I never really liked roughhousing or that kind of thing. I mean, whatever. I played sports and football and stuff. I just mean, that kind of inflicting of pain, physical pain, or mean-spirited comments. I never got into that as a way of bonding with other men, boys, when I was a boy. So you say you noticed Rucka teasing me and me not teasing, or you didn't notice me teasing him. Well, yes, that's because that's just not the kind of person I am. I'm not sure what you're talking about with Rucka, though, so you have to be more specific. Now, as for laughing at oneself, is that okay? Well, there are two different senses of laughing at yourself. So, if I'm walking along and I trip and I fall, and I laugh at that, well, what I would be laughing at is the idea that I tripped and fell. I would be laughing at the unreality of that. What's funny is that I fell. I, who am usually in control of myself. This is an exception. This is unreal. I'm not the kind of person who falls over. This isn't what I expect out of life. I'm a person who's competent to walk around and get where he's going and who's in control of his actions. So this is an insignificant exception. So I'm not actually laughing at myself there. I'm laughing at the absurdity of my being out of control, which is a benevolent thing because it's reinforcing that I usually am in control. So that sense of laughing at yourself is totally legitimate. But if you mean laughing at yourself as you indicated in your hypothetical joke, mocking me for reading philosophy, that would be totally evil for me to laugh at. Then I would be sanctioning the destruction, mockery of my own values. I'd be accepting the view that my values are insignificant. That would be totally wrong. Or if somebody makes a joke about ambition and how most people who start restaurants fail, and isn't that funny? People think that there are exceptions to the rule, but man plans and God laughs, and people don't know how to do anything, they're incompetent. That would be vicious to laugh at. So there are things that are superficially grouped together here, but that are actually opposites. The fact that I laugh when I fall over and that it's related to something I did that's not laughing at yourself. you're laughing at that situation, and it's completely the opposite of laughing at somebody who makes a joke at the expense of your career, your passion, your purpose in life. Now, lastly, what do you think of Rucka's work in parody rap, especially the song Am I Gay? Well, that's not parody rap, is it? The song that's based on isn't a rap song. So I assume you just mean his comedy music in general. Well, I can't answer about that song. I never listened to it before. For the purposes of this question, I listened to about 15 seconds of it and turned it off because it was vile. I think Rucka's comedy music is nihilistic filth. Now, if you are surprised by that, then I'm glad that I'm pointing this out. Based on these questions, it seems as if people are invalidly inferring my approval of certain things that I don't approve of. They're taking the fact that I've spoken with Rucka many times at great length to mean that I approve of what he does if I don't say otherwise, and that is false. Now, you might wonder why then haven't I pointed this out before? First of all, it is not possible to point out or say everything you're thinking all the time. When I speak with Rucka, it's because he has made a list of notes, he's taken a bunch of notes, and he has a bunch of things to ask me. It's not as if we've ever wanted for things to talk about, so I'm not going to derail the conversation by bringing up something, you know what, I don't like your music. I mean, I would have never hidden from that, and I never did. I mean, if you can't put two and two together, when I say that I detest swearing promiscuously, well, I don't know what to tell you. This shouldn't be a surprise. It should not be a surprise that I don't like Rucka's music. It shouldn't be a surprise to him or anybody listening to this. Although I dislike it for more reasons than just the ones that shouldn't surprise you. Maybe I dislike it for reasons that would also surprise you, but I'll get into that. So, I mean, the reason I haven't said this explicitly, at least haven't gone on about it, is because I don't think you can rationally take me to sanction everything Rucka does just because I speak to him. Even when I speak to him as much as I do. First of all, I'm drunk often in those conversations, so it's hard to notice things. It's hard to be as sharp that way. But even if I were completely sober, and when I am talking to him completely sober, there are just a million considerations. First of all, I've said first of all like 3 times now. It's hard to notice things in the moment. Sometimes, Rucka will say something and I think, did he mean what I thought he said? Did he mean what I thought he meant? It's just unclear. Conversations go fast. You can't always catch what's, the meaning of something in the moment. Even if you do, you don't necessarily have a good response to that in the moment. There are countless times Rucka said something, and I've noticed there was something really wrong about it, but I didn't come up with a good way to respond to it or to articulate what was wrong, prioritize what I should say until much later. So it's hard to do that in the moment. And lastly, even if you catch somebody's doing something wrong and you know what to say, it's not always appropriate to say something and derail a conversation. So there are many reasons why I haven't just gone off on a tangent about things I disagree with Rucka on. It's just you can't have a conversation with people that way. I mean, this is a very naive view where you're thinking, well, if you disapprove of something, why didn't you say it? You have to reevaluate your standards of inference. You can't say, well, you talked to this person and you didn't point out that you disapprove of all these things, so you must approve of them. No. Now, I will take some blame here. I do think that I have contributed to some people getting the wrong impression by allowing things to pass by that I wouldn't have allowed if I weren't so pessimistic or Dominique-like so often. For instance, I noticed that Rucka titled one of our video discussions Planet of the AIDS, parentheses with Charles too. Now, I would never allow myself to be associated with that kind of description in a rational, free society, in a world in which I were more optimistic and thought that my sanction really mattered, made a difference. One, because, I mean, as a secondary matter, that's just horribly lame, even on nihilistic standards. But two, because I wouldn't want to be taken to sanction nihilism. The same is true with his History of Philosophy rap, which I have multiple problems with. One is, of course, the disgusting vulgarity. I know for a fact when researching that video, in addition to asking me, he would just look stuff up on Wikipedia. That is not the appropriate way to research something like that. He should not have written that song before he had a basic grasp of the history of philosophy. Now, you may find this surprising coming from me, because I'm the person who says you don't have to go to primary material and read all of this extra stuff. But that's not because I have some secret sympathy with just shooting from the hip without knowing what you're talking about. My judgments are based on facts. You don't need that level of primary material to know what you're talking about, but you do definitely need a basic overview, which I've been clear on. So, Rucka writing that song before he really had a grasp of the overall history of philosophy was a huge mistake. And going to Wikipedia and looking up, I mean, apart from Wikipedia's unreliability, looking up single facts can be highly misleading. Context makes a huge difference. Knowing just one fact out of context can be worse than being ignorant of something. I mean, for instance, I could just give you an example. Let's say this is a mistake he could have made. Let's say you were looking up the history of philosophy and you don't know anything about it. You hear about, oh, Pythagoras, should I include him in here? So you go up and you look up on Wikipedia, oh, Pythagoras, we don't really know much about him. There's just a bunch of legends about him having a golden leg and whatever. So we don't really have anything solid to attribute to Pythagoras as a man. Okay, then I guess I'll skip him. He wasn't important. Well, that would be a huge mistake, even though everything I just said was factually true. We do not know anything about what Pythagoras believed, but his students were highly influential and are a major part of the history of philosophy. So it would be very easy to just go up, look up this one fact. Oh, Pythagoras, we don't have anything for him. Okay, skip to the next thing. That would be an incredibly easy inference to make. If all you did was go and look up these out-of-context facts on Wikipedia or in an encyclopedia or something. So that was just completely wrong, and Rucka has a habit of doing things without thinking them through. He seems to have a real antipathy toward forethought. The purpose of this isn't to analyze Rucka's psychology, so I won't go into all of the examples of that, but it is something I noticed, and that was one manifestation of it. So those are the reasons I think he shouldn't have even done that song, apart from the fact that it's disgusting and vulgar. So anyway, yes, I let things like that go. And my attitude is just, or has been, who cares? Why does my sanction matter? My sanction matters because I would be alienating my kind of people. You know, Rourke is trying to find his kind of people, and it's important for him to have integrity. And sanction is an important issue because he doesn't want people to come and, think of how work succeeds. It's in large part because people see his buildings, that he didn't compromise, and then they come to him and they want work from him. Whereas if he'd compromised, he never would have found his way to those people. And the same thing here. If people see that I allow this kind of thing, good people will turn away, and I'll never find my kind of people. But that's a non-issue because my kind of people don't exist. So it's hard for me to care very much about sanction. Now, I know Ayn Rand would say that I am the evil one here, because without my sanction, then this kind of nihilism would have no chance, that I'm really the one like wine, and it's precisely my hopelessness and the resulting sanction of this that is actually making it possible. It's not that this kind of thing has any influence on its own, but it's that my belief that it does makes me sanction it, which is the real cause of whatever influence it has. So I know Ayn Rand would condemn me here. If you'd like to keep up with everything I do, just go to charles2.com. If you'd like to enable me to do more, just go to patreon.com/charles2 and become a supporter. Thanks for listening.